Movie review. Is Fear Street Part 1 1994 a promising start to Netflix's horror trilogy? Halloween has come early for horror fans, with the release of Netflix's ambitious Fear Street trilogy, based on the best-selling series from R.L. Stine. The trilogy has started its reign of terror with Fear Street Part 1, 1994, which will be followed by the remaining parts of the trilogy over the next 2 Fridays. It's a bold strategy to have made an entire trilogy without knowing if the interest is there, but it certainly adds a unique hook. Effectively, the trilogy will play out like one season of a TV show across 3 movies, as it tells an overarching story, centered on Dina, Kiana Madeira, and her friends. We meet Dina as she's suffering through a breakup with Sam, Olivia Welsh, while trying to look after her brother Josh, Benjamin Flores Jr. But Dina soon finds herself facing a much bigger and way more deadly problem, as she and Sam find themselves the target of a curse that has haunted her town Shadyside for centuries. Can they live long enough to uncover the terrifying events that caused the curse, or will they just be the next victims? Fear Street might not be as well known as R.L. Stine's Goosebumps series, but 1994 works just as well if it's your first trip to the twisted world of Shadyside. There are nods to the book series for fans to enjoy, yet since it's not a direct adaptation of the series, you won't miss out on anything as it's a brand new story. As much as she was inspired by the book series, Leigh Janiak, who directed the entire trilogy and co-wrote each movie, has also been inspired by the horror genre to tell her story if 1994 is anything to go by. Janiak sets her stall out early with a terrific cold open that homages Scream, with a certain Stranger Things star in the place of Drew Barrymore. It's a bloody and chilling opening that'll hook any horror fan. The homages to the 90s era of self-aware slasher movies, such as I Know What You Did Last Summer and The Faculty, can be seen throughout 1994. It's to Janiak's credit that they never come off as rip-offs, but as loving nods to a classic horror movie era, and it'll be exciting to see how that tone develops in 1978 and 1666. Its retro feel is heightened by its 1990s setting, and you might be concerned when the likes of Radiohead and Garbage show up on the soundtrack within 20 minutes. Fortunately, Janiak doesn't overdo it, and the movie doesn't become a succession of "hey, remember that old thing" moments, instead becoming a comforting throwback like Stranger Things is for the 1980s. In truth, 1994 struggles to find its feet after the strong opening, as we're introduced to Dina and her friends. While it's a nice touch that they are all the type of characters who die early in a horror movie, they are not developed much beyond their one-note roles. It's still great though to see a lesbian relationship front and center, giving the movie a modern edge to its retro thrills. There's also a lot of showing and telling when it comes to the story, including an exposition dump about the history of the curse. 1994 has a lot of heavy lifting to do in setting up the trilogy's story, and it feels as though the movie doesn't always trust the viewer enough to connect the dots, slowing the pace down at a few critical moments. Any flaws though will likely be forgiven, as 1994 delivers where it counts when it comes to the slasher kills. While it might have the tone of a self-aware teen horror, Janiak doesn't hold back on the gore, including a disgusting, in the best way, death by bread slicer, and some disturbing flashbacks to killers of Shadyside's past who might not be quite as dead as we think they are. With the trilogy set up out of the way, 1994 builds to a surprising and affecting climax that manages to satisfyingly wrap up the story of this trip to Shadyside. But as we know that a sequel is coming in only a week's time, it won't be a surprise to learn that Janiak has one final trick up her sleeve with a dark cliffhanger that directly sets up Part 2. 1994 gives some hints at what we can expect from our visit to 1978, with nods to the camp Nightwing killer. Despite some frustrations, it's a testament to the strengths of the first movie that you'd have wanted to make the trip even without the cliffhanger, as when it's at its best, Fear Street Part 1, 1994 is bloody good fun.
Okay, if you like this video, don't forget to click like button. See you in the next video.